Me, us, the Groypers. We are the future.
Hello everyone, welcome back. I've tried to look at this particular misanthrope a few times, but have never seemed to be able to get it quite right. But I'm getting tired of talking about Jared Taylor, and frankly, the person that we're looking at today has far too much political influence to be ignored at this point. Today we'll be looking at Nick Fuentes and his Groyper so-called America First fascist movement. Recently he's garnered a lot of attention as an outspoken critic of Trump, which has given his Groyper movement far more attention and momentum recently. The video we'll look at today is about Trump's increasingly unhinged attacks on his former supporters. It's interesting to see how accurately Fuentes is able to attack Trump, but more importantly, I want to look at what Nick hopes to do in a post-Trump era. Because the man is a political Hindenburg at this point, and it's only a matter of time before he's gone. The question is, what will happen after Trump is gone? His supposed successors, like Vance and Rubio, are highly unpopular, but people like Nick or Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are gaining tremendously in popularity. So the question is, with Trump gone, MAGA dissolves, which gives the left 4 to 8 years before something resurges to replace it. And if what emerges is what Nick or his ideological compatriots hope for, what does that look like and how is it prevented? Because if you think MAGA is bad, what little Nicky and his cronies aspire for is something far, far worse. Also, one quick note. I do have a habit throughout this video of calling Nick a petty little cretinous virgin who's quite small and very insecure. I tend to not go for such low blows in general, but just take a look at a few of these.
White people are every single bit justified in being racist.
You know, enough with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares?
Yeah, sorry, pea-brain woman. Maybe that's why you should focus more on 2 slices of bread, peanut butter, and jelly than political commentary. Maybe you should leave that to the big brain men.
I will continue my crusade against women in politics.
So yeah, I make no apologies. So without further ado, let's take a look at this particular travesty, shall we?
Quote, President Trump called Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones, 4 conservative, once allies of Trump who have been critical of his approach to the war in Iran, losers and stupid people in a nearly 500-word Truth Social post on Thursday. This is good stuff, guys. Why do I like it? See, that's how you know I'm evil. That's how you know I might be a little bit evil.
Yeah, Nikki, you are a despicable, evil little cretin. That said, it's funny how willing you are to announce the fact so openly. I think it's because you're talking currently to your audience and base. They know who and what you are and are actually okay with it, which makes it no surprise that time and time again we see people who do truly evil things reference your rhetoric on such a regular basis.
And this is the post. I'll read it to you. This is good stuff, guys. Why do I like it? See, that's how you know I'm evil. That's how you know I might be a little bit evil. And maybe I just live for the drama. But today, Trump jumps on Truth Social and he just tears Alex Jones, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Tucker, and Marjorie Greene a fucking new asshole. This is Trump. He says, I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, to have a nuclear weapon. Because they have one thing in common, low IQs. They're stupid people. They know it, their families know it, and everyone else knows it too. Look at their past. Look at their record. They don't have what it takes, and they never did. They've all been thrown off television, lost their shows. They're not even invited on TV because nobody cares about them. They're nut jobs, troublemakers, and will say anything necessary for some free and cheap publicity.
None of this is new information to Trump or to Fuentes or to MAGA. They were all just perfectly fine with it until they stopped bending the knee or kissing the orange ring. Trump had no problem with Owens or Jones, with the Sandy Hook denials or racist conspiracy theories when they were licking Trump's boots. But once they step out of line, all the praise becomes hate and all the kudos become scorn. It's Trump's playbook. The playbook of a bully, of a child with anger issues. The dementia is just making it all more pronounced. And all of it makes a sick little misanthrope like Fuentes giddy every time he hears it. The fact is that Nikki here has made a career out of being a petulant little bully towards brown people, gay people, and women, so of course he gets off on stuff like this. It's a perfect demonstration of how performative his rhetoric is. He doesn't really have values or principles at his core. He just drifts where the political winds take him and will always relish in the opportunity to laugh along with the orange pederast in chief. Too small and pitiful to really be a bully himself, so he has to tag along and latch onto the bigger, fatter, older bully and be his little lackey. Hell, just look at all the projection in this line alone.
And I shouldn't. Why is this so funny to me? Because I'm too busy on world and country affairs. And after a few times, they go nasty, just like Marjorie Trader Brown. But I no longer care about that stuff. I only care about doing right for our country. MAGA is about winning and strength and not allowing Iran to have nuclear weapons. MAGA is about making America great again, and these people have no idea how to do that. But I do, because the U.S. is the hottest country in the world.
It would be amusing if it wasn't literally coming from the highest office in the United States. The one slightly good thing about it is that it's showing just how cooked MAGA is less than halfway into this disastrous term. Their leader is actively losing his mind. His support base is in shambles, and there isn't anyone available who would or even could effectively replace him once he's gone. So yeah, that's my take, but let's see how little Nikki here interprets this insanity, because as giddy as he is laughing at others for calling out Trump, he's in the same boat.
And that is the 500-word message, the literally 500-word Truth Social post from our fearless president of the United States, Donald Trump. And I suppose it speaks for itself. So he really hates these people. And listen, I have a complicated relationship with some of these people. Megyn Kelly hates me for some reason. Tucker hates me for some reason. Candace Owens hates me for some reason. Alex Jones I like.
Strange. I really wonder why all these people dislike you, Nick. I can't possibly think of a reason, or dozens of reasons, that he'd be this hated. Still, credit where it's due, this is where Nick has a real talent. In spite of being a petty, bitter little cretin, he's not stupid. He sees and fully understands what's happening with Trump and his former, most loyal and ardent supporters. He recognizes that no matter how loyal you were to him, or for how long, as soon as you are no longer useful or even slightly critical of him, you're suddenly the worst kind of person imaginable. Everything he was happy to overlook for years is suddenly ammunition for his diatribes. Nick knows this because he was one of them. He spent a decade licking this man's boots. Now he's happy to laugh at Trump's bitter little diatribe, but he's in precisely the same category as all the people that Trump's attacking right now.
How many shows has Alex Jones gone to the mat for Trump? In spite of what he knew, in spite of his reservations, in spite of his concerns, how many shows and how much flack did he get? And I say this because I'm most aware of Alex Jones' body of work. How much has Alex defended Trump, fought for Trump, went to stop the steal, supported him in 2016, said it was imperative to support him in 2024, defended him from the witch hunt, from the Russia investigation. And by the way, even when it was hard, even when it was difficult, when he was destroyed by the left and lost everything, and Trump was no help, Trump did not give Alex Jones a pardon preemptively when he could have after January 6th. Trump did not try to assist him in getting censored off of the internet in his first term, and Trump has done nothing in the second term to help Alex Jones in this ridiculous lawsuit and ongoing witch hunt in other matters from the DOJ and from the left.
No, Nick. Alex Jones, as you put it, was not destroyed by the left. He was destroyed by the courts and his own ego and hubris. He relentlessly went after the parents of kids murdered at Sandy Hook and harassed them nonstop for years, lied about it to the courts, and eventually was found guilty in civil court. That's not a left-right issue. That's just the consequences of your actions. Those actions namely being fraud and defamation. The fact that you want to label it a left-right issue just demonstrates how quickly you can flip from reality to political hyperbole at the drop of a hat. No wonder your base is so genuinely confused and detached from reality all the time. It's truly strange to see such a contrarian blend of honesty about Trump throwing Jones under the bus, combined with the complete dishonesty on how he got there in the first place. It's truly enough to give you whiplash.
Why are people loyal to Trump? Why would you be loyal to Trump? Do you not see who this person is? Trump is not a loyal person. He isn't and never has been, ever. Hello? When will people wake up and realize this is not a loyal person? Trump is a treacherous person and always has been. How many people have gotten involved with Trump? They were the first to endorse him, like Sessions, like Ann Coulter. How many people got sued, like Bannon, like Mike Flynn? How many of these people got involved with Trump, lost everything, sacrificed everything on his behalf, were destroyed, only to be discarded, only to be backstabbed, thrown under the bus? It happens over and over again.
Speaking of whiplash, this is interesting. If Trump always has been a treacherous person that people shouldn't be loyal to, why did you spend nearly a decade licking his boots and carrying water for the man? You're only willing to call him out now after years of knowing exactly who and what he is. It's making you gain traction with some as you appear as a contrarian to Trump. But all it says to me is that you're just as treacherous and duplicitous as he is. You knew who and what he was for all this time, but only now are you willing to call him out in the way that you do, only because it's become so politically convenient to do so. Grifters grifting by fighting their fellow grifters.
But you recognize this is a person in politics. He is not our friend. He is not the savior of Western civilization. He's not God. He's not your boss. He's not your dad. He's a politician. He's a billionaire. He is a billionaire. He is a politician. And this extraordinary movement that he has built, historic as it is, and maybe at one point had noble intentions, always was there to enrich and benefit him. That was always the program. And we thought we would get something out of it. This movement obviously edified the president to an extraordinary degree. It wasn't enough to be a billionaire. It wasn't enough to put his name on a skyscraper or 10 of them. It wasn't enough to have the biggest game show on NBC and be a celebrity and the rest of it. He wanted to be the leader. And we thought that if we conferred those benefits on him, if we made him our king, then we would get something out of it too, that there was this coincidence of wants. We will appoint you the tyrant. We will appoint you the leader. And it can be all about you, and it can be your name, and you can put your stamp on it. As long as it is a populist uprising and empowered by the people, you would deliver some of those benefits to the people.
It's truly a mask-off moment for Nick here. They not only knew what kind of a narcissistic little monster they were putting into power, they were okay with the game, okay with the grift. They were okay with an authoritarian takeover of democracy, where Trump became a tyrant king, as long as, in doing so, he enacted all the racist, sexist, and homophobic policies that they wanted. They were okay with dismantling democracy for this man, as long as he hurt the people Fuentes and his Groyper cretins wanted to hurt in the process. It's amazingly selfish, petty, and childish. It's exactly why I have no sympathy for people like Nick here after they have buyer's remorse. They're not upset about how badly Trump's policies and actions have fucked over the working class and everyday Americans. They're upset that they didn't deport enough brown people or make life hard enough for women and trans people. That and the fact that their gas prices are up are what have finally caused this rift in MAGA. Not the use of ICE as a domestic terrorist organization, not the attempts at dismantling the pillars of our Constitution, not the gutting of our global soft power and foreign aid operations. Nope. They were okay with all of that. They were okay with a tyrant king. They're just mad that their tyrant king wasn't enough of a tyrant or a racist for their tastes. But wait, it gets even better. He's going to try and attach some kind of a warrior mythos to his little group of Groyper buddies for fighting the great meme wars of 2024. It's genuinely sad.
What more does anybody owe this person? We voted for him twice, and many of us were there for Stop the Steal, and many of us were holding down the fort on the internet, fighting the meme war, and we were spreading the gospel of Trump and wearing the hat and doing all these things, and we all paid a price in our own way, whether you were ostracized, disinvited from a Thanksgiving dinner, fired from your job, expelled from school, punched in the face, banned on Twitter, put in jail, died. Some people died. We all suffered in our own way. And what were we rewarded with in the end? A vaccine, BLM riots, a jail sentence after J6. Nobody got their Twitter accounts back. There was no tech Bill of Rights or anything like that. We got nothing.
See, this is how detached from reality these Groyper lunatics really are. They really think of themselves as martyrs for a cause they no longer believe in, bemoaning how ostracized and hated they were for peddling the racist bullshit they peddle. Poor little bigots were hated by their families and the general public for being racist little miscreants, and they have the audacity to treat it as though they were fighting for some great, meaningful battle for their cause. Sorry guys, you backed a despot you thought would bring about the American Third Reich. You were wrong. You backed a lying narcissist. Now you're mad your fat, orange demagogue failed you. Don't expect pity or sympathy from anyone. Nick has always been an isolated little miscreant who has no friends or family to lose in the first place. Instead, he gained love and adulation from his little cult. Kinda reminds me of Trump, in fact. But no. Totally different. Obviously, Nick is a true believer. It's definitely not a grift for him. That's why he backed Trump for a decade before finally starting to call him out. Totally.
This was the only group of people, the Groypers and me included, that said, hey, let's snap out of it. Let's adjust to the information that we've gotten. And let's just realize we have to put America first, not Trump, not the GOP, not whatever. We have to put Americans, us. We have to put the country first. Trump won't do that. He can't do it, so we don't need him.
White Americans, Nikki, not Americans. You may think you're America first, but you're really only talking about a very narrow group of people that are universally despised outside of your echo chamber. Just needed to clarify that fact. But do go on.
He has a high favorability rating among Republicans. And he is very popular, unfortunately, still. If you ask your average person, hey, do you like Trump? Your average right-leaning person is going to say, yeah, I like Trump. Yeah, he's got to do what he's got to do. Even if they're against the war, you might say, really, you support the war? Your average person's going to say, I don't like Iran. I support Trump. A lot of these pro-Trump people on Twitter, they're not entirely wrong when they say that it's an internet phenomenon, that people are really up in arms about the war. You know who's against the war? Very young people, very online people. But you look at older people, you look at the boomers, you look at some of the Xers, you look at your average Republican voter, your average right-wing conservative person, they still like Trump.
Trump's approval rating is abysmal. He has the lowest approval rating of any modern president, and it's less than halfway through his term. 39 approval, down from 56 when he first came into office. It's not just an online thing, as you put it, Nick. At this point, the only people who still approve of him are his cultist base of fanatics that will support him no matter what happens. Outside of that, he's despised. Between being a pederast, a warmonger, and a shill for billionaires, he's alienated everyone. The only people that aren't bailing from the Trump Hindenburg are those too drunk on the Kool-Aid to admit that they've been conned.
And what Trump is doing is being the nucleus of this movement and having the legacy and the bully pulpit that he has. He is sucking all the oxygen out of the room. Nobody is free to imagine what a genuine America First movement should or could or can look like as long as he is there. He is sitting on the seat. It is occupied. And so any money that would go in that direction, any votes that would go in that direction, any wayward Republican politician that might trend in that direction, they can't. Because he's sitting on the chair, blocking all of it, absorbing all of it. No Republican politician wants to go against Trump, so no Republican politician can be America First.
Yes, Nick. Here, in fact, you are absolutely correct. Trump is MAGA, MAGA is Trump. Though he's pulled in support from everywhere from traditional conservatives to neo-Nazi Groypers like you, he's the leader of a cult. And he's one way too narcissistic, dementia-ridden, and self-absorbed to ever work at leaving a legacy after he's gone, beyond putting his name on as much shit as possible. Once Trump is gone, there is no replacement for him. Rubio and Vance are the most popular successors, but they're both utterly despised inside and outside of the GOP. So once Trump is gone, MAGA falls apart into a bunch of warring factions within right-wing politics. And with people like you advocating for either not voting or voting Democrat to stick it to the GOP, they're going to lose their grip on government completely for a while. Hopefully long enough for meaningful change to prevent another Trump-like deity in the future, but that's doubtful given the state of the Democratic Party currently. The fact is, as nice as it will be to dismantle the terrible damage being done to the country internally and on the global stage, the damage Trump has done in less than 2 years will take decades to recover from, if recovery is even possible. And that's only if the Dems are willing to take meaningful action, something they seem completely incapable of. Still, as bad as Democrats are, even they are a massive leap up from this particular brand of insanity. The question is, what happens next for the GOP? Will it become more like the party of Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz, or more like the fascist party of Little Nicky and his Groyper Brigade? Better yet, will the two sides remain so completely at odds that no reconciliation happens for years to come? But now let's hear from Nicky what he truly wanted. It's enlightening in a very dark and disturbing kind of way.
Who could go against Trump? Who's powerful enough? Nobody. And this is why I said in 24, it would have been better if he lost. Because I said exactly this. I said, if you get Trump, everyone will become complacent. If Trump wins in 24, I told you that this is precisely what would happen. If he loses, people are going to stay pissed off, and Trump goes away. He doesn't ruin his legacy. He can exist in our imagination as this radical that he never was. I said, and by 28, people are going to be ready for right-wing radicalism. I said, we need to incubate more anger. We need to incubate more resentment so that by 2028, people are ready for a radical option. And with Trump out of the picture, maybe one can arise. A space will be opened up. That is always the first step.
This is particularly interesting. He wanted people to stay angry and radicalized so that the true right-wing populist could emerge. That's fascinating. Not surprising, but fascinating. It shows how much his movement relies on bitterness and discontent with things as they are. For his movement to succeed, he needs people angry enough and radical enough to be willing to support dismantling foundational aspects of American democracy for his vision of America first to succeed, the one that Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon, and Alex Jones have always wanted, the one where mass deportations are more aggressive and violent and insane, where more personal rights and liberties are stripped away from anyone who's not a part of this radical little center of Christian nationalists, xenophobes, racists, and fascists. Nick's idea of America First isn't the one from Reagan's time. No, it's the one from 1930s America, the one that tried to bring over the fascism from Germany and Italy to the U.S. That's what Nick and his Groypers want, what they've always wanted, and now Nick is lamenting the fact that Trump has been incapable of bringing that about. And now with him in the way, a movement like that will take years, if not decades, to gather the momentum needed to make it actually happen. It's such a fitting irony that their movement has been crippled by the very man they thought would bring it about, because the man is too self-obsessed and too incompetent to let that kind of evil truly flourish. So now instead, that vacuum, that space, the momentum Nick is talking about here, it's behind the left. Not Democrats, but the left. That's where a real push and a desire for radical change is coming about. Hopefully, it's enough for something positive, but sadly, it's going to be a long, uphill slog to get there, particularly if we're unwilling to get a truly progressive group of individuals elected. People willing to stand up against AIPAC and the corporate Dems that have been so spineless and ineffectual for so long. The good thing is that Nick is right about the momentum this crazy Groyper right-wing movement once had has been completely diminished. The bad thing is that if we don't actually work on making some truly progressive changes that benefit the working class over the wealthy, it's going to be no time at all before this asshole's America First fascist movement regains that lost momentum, and we're looking at a smarter, more capable, more radical version of MAGA that's actually both competent enough and focused enough to do what Trump was promising for the past decade.
Tucker's like a full-blown Hitler worshiper. Candace Owens is a full-blown anti-Semite. Even Alex Jones is criticizing Trump finally. This is where we are. Trump has brought us to a war in Iran, and now by name, he is casting all of them out of MAGA. So whereas you might have said these people are the far-right flank, they're pushing the envelope, they're leading the GOP in a more radical direction where Trump maybe cannot. Now Trump is actively fighting them and discrediting them. And conversely, he's promoting Mark Levin, promoting Laurel Loomer, endorsing Lindsey Graham. It could not get more explicit. It's 2026, and Trump is saying MAGA means war with Iran, no Epstein files. MAGA means Mark Levin and Laurel Loomer and Lindsey Graham are the best, and Tucker and Candace and Megyn Kelly and Alex Jones are the worst. It's indefensible now. Fuck MAGA. It's dead.
See? Here he's even saying the quiet part out loud. I disagree that Nick is any less radically fascist than Tucker or Candace or Alex Jones, but he's right. The really fascist, really racist segment of the MAGA movement is these folks, and they're all the ones calling out Trump, while the more establishment politicians like Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham are the ones so happy to finally have the war with Iran that they've wanted for decades now. Which is why it's going to take a while for this fascist arm of the right wing to regain momentum. But, as I said, if the Dems fumble this opportunity and again snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, like they did in 2016 with choosing Clinton over Sanders, with choosing neoliberalism over progressivism, it's going to be a very short turnaround before these neo-fascists have enough momentum to put someone up that's far more radical and actually competent enough to accomplish their goals, rather than flail around in a dementia-ridden stupor and grifting as much money into their personal coffers as possible, like Trump has been doing. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The only thing surpassing Trump's evil is his selfishness and his incompetence. Their next attempt at this likely won't have those shortcomings.
You don't have any young fans anymore. I know, I'm a young person. You don't have any young supporters. The people that memed you into the White House, the people that made the memes, the actually creative, fun, edgy, intelligent young people that brought the energy in 2016, they're gone. I know, I was one of them. I'm not anymore.
Nicky here calling himself fun is just peak irony. This is the guy that would be the one who left a party early because it played too much ethnic music. Sorry, just had to put that in there. But do go on, little buddy. We get it. You're a real hit at all the best parties.
It is a dead and dying movement. The only people left in MAGA are the boomers that still watch Fox News, the boomers in the villages, all these retirees in Florida, these people that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground anymore. They get tricked by AI on the regular. Those are the only people that are still with it. And like Trump, they're not going to be here in 20 years. They're going to be dead. We are going to be here in 20 years. We are going to be in politics in 20 years, and we're done with that.
Wait a minute. Weren't you just saying that the hate for Trump was really just an online thing? That generally he still had Republican support, but now MAGA is dead? I agree with you on that point. Way more than I did on the last one, obviously. But to be clear, every special election since Trump came into office has been a disaster for the GOP, including on Trump's home turf, where all these retired boomers that you're talking about are concentrated. The House district for Mar-a-Lago just elected a Democrat by a huge margin. And even Marjorie Taylor Greene's old seat ended up being a far harder win for the GOP than it had any right to be. So while you're right that MAGA is dead, the base of support isn't just boomers, as you put it. His support is unraveling everywhere, among all demographics.
I don't want to be at the tail end of the Trump movement. I want to get in at the ground floor of the America First movement. And what we need to start to imagine is a movement that is so radical and severe and powerful that it towers over the MAGA movement. We want the America First movement to look like a tsunami, a hurricane, and we want MAGA to look like a little wave, a little ripple. That's the kind of mindset that we need. Don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that it happened and look forward to a more radical and more extreme future. That's the only way, is to recognize that Trumpism is not the end all be all. It's not the last word. It was a necessary first step, and we need to put the pillow on top of the movement. It's day of the pillow. Trump, we love you. Thank you for what you have done, but we are now going to euthanize the MAGA movement. We're going to take the baton from it, and we're going to carry it forward. And only the young people can do it. It's not going to be Trump. Honestly, it's not even going to be Tucker. Tucker's too old as well. It's got to be us. All the energy is with the Groypers. We will take it from here. Not Vance, not Tucker, not Trump, me, us, the Groypers. We are the future.
And this here is what I find most unsettling about this entire video, and why I wanted to make this video in the first place. Why we on the left need to be very aware and conscientious about what candidates we put forward in this election, because this new, more radical, more fanatical, and more dangerous iteration of MAGA is waiting in the wings. If we only put forward half measures, keep capitulating to Israel and corporatism, instead of pushing for truly progressive measures to both pull us out of our current economic miasma and ensure a better quality of life for the lower and middle class, then we're only postponing an inevitable resurgence of the kind of despicable goals that these Groypers want to see America become. We cannot keep relying on nothing more than vilifying the goals of the right to gain office. It's ineffective, and the public is sick and tired of it. When we rely on these outdated and ineffective political talking points, we end up with officials that are supported only for being the lesser of two evils. We elected Biden because he was less bad than Trump. With Kamala, we attempted the same thing. And obviously, we lost. Unless we can actually offer policy that resonates with the public, that pushes back against the interests that fund both parties while being despised by the public at large, we're doing nothing but postponing the inevitable return of MAGA, bigger, more radical, more competent, and far more dangerous. So please, please, fucking pay attention. Winning in 2026 and in 2028 isn't enough if we end up with a leadership that's too fickle to make actual radical progressive changes. Then it's only a matter of time before we're back to the disaster of 2016 and 2024. And that's not a return that we want to go back to, because as I said, what they'll put up the next time is going to be somebody far more dangerous than Trump. It's just a crazy thing to think of. Somebody more dangerous, more insane than this fucking asshole. But yeah, on that wonderful, happy note, I'll end things here. Thank you all for listening. Feel free to add your thoughts in the comments below. With that, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next one.